What's up, y'all? Today's tutorial is going to be showing you how to take Multipass and make yourself a glitch generator. So with it being turned off, these are some of the samples that I'm working with. And these are all kind of vastly different because the idea is to get basically a glitch rack that will take any input and make a weird slightly different output, right? We don't want it to mash everything to be in the same sound. So this is what it sounds like with the patch that we end up with. And it also has these two mode knobs. So I'm going to talk about how you can make macros that are really useful and like change the sound quite a lot instead of just kind of doing nothing. Or doing unpredictable things. We want kind of predictable chaos here. So the first two are mode switches. So this is like a cleaner mode off of that one. So like less messy. I hope that's coming through a bit. This one is a more granular mode. Then this next 3 or 4 knobs, these are kind of like not so much modes and more like flavors that you can add to it. So like Mishy's a width knob. So let me just play this and kind of give you an idea what I'm talking about with these. The old Game Beezy sample, right? It's like a width knob. This one is a sweeping. This one is a really weird one, but it's kind of also an added in thing, so just really messes up the tonality of it, but just makes it a little more interesting. So yeah, I'm going to be showing how to make this entire patch and how to do all of the knobs and how to basically make your own version and the idea that goes into making something like this. So the first step that I'm going to do here is take a dynamics and put it on the input and the output. The front end of this is going to be like an upwards compression in case there's any quiet parts of my sample. We'll just type this at 6:1 or 6:1 ratio. Yeah, and then this one will be a downward 6:1. Turn the knee up a little bit on both these. And then I'm going to set macro 1 to be an in gain on both of these. And change it to bipolar mode. So it goes from up to down. So I have a gain staging knob. So just in case I ever need to increase or decrease my volume, which I won't for this, but like if I put this onto a separate thing that I haven't designed it for, this will just be a quick way to adjust and make sure my gain is hitting the effects properly. So then the second thing that I like to do here is subtract frequencies. So we're gonna, in this particular example, I've showed how to do this with Transgate, where you just set up a kind of like standard pattern for it. I'm gonna do it this time with a gain, just because I haven't showed that before. So we go to our gain here, and I'll set an LFO up, and I'm gonna make this be like a quarter. We'll actually go with a quarter hit on a full bar's worth of sound, and I'm just going to slide my point so it's not super harsh transients. And then I can route this to be from 0 to 50%, which would be, this is the 50% point, 100% of the volume. Just so it's not way too loud. Then I'm going to change this to sync and slow it way down. I might even go with, yeah, now this may seem like a bad idea right now, but it is going to work really well for what I think I'm going to do with this one. So what I'm going to do on the input is just go ahead, and I can take each of these now and treat them as like, basically we have the first segment of the sound, and I can treat these all as like space creators. So we will add like a reverb to this one. Reverb probably not on the low end. We could do that because there's nothing really wrong that we can do with these. I am going to use all my bands here though. So let's go ahead and do like a delay for this. So dual delay, I'll set it to be sync. Right, and so it's playing that first section of this. And I just want it to delay over a long period of time. I'm going to slow this down a little bit. And I'll turn ducking on quite a bit. And I think I want to slow it down. I just want to turn that feedback down so it's not completely getting the next hit. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, I'm not going to use dual delay for this. I'm going to use a regular delay, and we'll switch to the high band. So I have this on 8/16. So let's do 4/16 on this one. And then for the high band, we'll go way shorter. And I'm going to change it to go left, right instead of right, left like the first one. But I think I'm going to actually do mix all the way up on all these and turn the ducking all the way up. And this might not be the right thing to do, so I might undo all that. Cool, now for my low end, I'm going to use a convolver. And I'm actually going to set this up to be a time delay. 4/16 should be correct. Let me just put an impulse in here to check. No, so it needs to be, I think, 8. Yeah, okay. So now I'm going to change this to like a really long impulse here. And I think there's some of them in, there's definitely some in the grains. I don't want to do a chord because the chords always end up making that tone. Do something to keep this from getting too weird. We'll add a ring modulator or make it weirder but bring it out of the low frequencies so much. So we'll go in here, transgate, 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 just change the sections on these to be a little weirder. And then I'm going to pitch shift the bottom up. Add a separate gain, or I'm sorry, transgate to this. And I'm going to make this one a little more predictable so it's like a base for this, or like rather like a something for these to sit on top of. And I'm going to just make it 2 hits here, or I'm sorry, 1 hit that happens. Change it to 64 and turn the attack way up. And then for this, I think I'm going to bring the stereo down and distort the hell out of it. This is maybe a bad decision, but then I'm just going to make it warm. So we're warming the signal by cutting the highs off of it. We could also warm it by bringing a little bit of the lows. So I'll do an EQ 3-band for this. So now my main problem that I have is I love these high bands. I love what we kind of have going here. Let's start adding some macros that can fix some of the issues with the signal. So first thing, I've gotten a bunch of different pieces here to use for this. So let me utilize some of those. Let me see if this sounds cool with other sounds, which is like the point of making a rack like this. Now it's doing something that I don't like, which is it's making these all the same. Okay, so the reason for that is this ring modulation right here. If I turn these 2 bands off. Okay, so the way that we're going to work this is there's 2 versions of this patch that we have. One is, let's make this actually the very first knob that we have here. So this will be the most likely one to be used, right? Especially if we name it something cool like alt.function mez. People are going to see alt. What's a more computery word that we can use for this? Let's name it alt distribution. Alt.distribute, distribute. Okay, so now hopefully when people open this plugin, they're going to see gain staging, alt distribute. And and it's not doing exactly what I want it to do, which is turn these bands off. So I'm going to also go in here and turn the gain completely off on these two. And then we'll make another one that does the exact opposite function. So it turns these bands all the way up, and then this one doesn't need to go all the way up. It just needs to go relatively high so that it's acting as the second band. Hold on, I want that one to go all the way up. This one I want to go here. Okay, so now we have alt distribute, and we'll call this, let's hear what it sounds like. Or a dot function. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and fix the thing that I felt like was the problem earlier when we were working with the original sample, this one right here. And that was that the top is too quiet, so we'll just add a bunch of compressors to the top end. So I'll silence this, or solo this. And so the idea between doing long attacks and really long releases is I don't want to completely like mush the signal up by like doing really short compression where it like slams the signal. Basically, like if we did, let me solo out one of these. So we're just doing this band here. What I don't want to do is destroy the dynamics of the signal by doing something like this. Super hard and short compression and then boosting the gain. Right, it may sound like that's better, but if we did that to all of our bands, before I cancel that, if I show that with each of our bands, you hear how we get like a distorted thing instead of like a cool thing with like a bunch of movement and stuff. You hear how it kind of preserves the dynamics a little bit. I think that's a cooler way to take care of that. Now, one thing I do like to do anytime I put a pitch shifter on a thing is turn compensation off. I do not like having that much latency on a patch because it just makes it kind of unusable in a track, in my opinion. Okay, so to finish this one out, because it's pretty close to done, let's add a thing that I think is really useful to have on a lot of these things, which is a tilt EQ to the end. So we'll call this brightener. And this is just a cool trick where you like turn this here, and so the old shiny knob. And so what this does is anytime you like feel like your sound needs a little bit more brightness, I'm going to kind of smooth these out a little bit to where it starts to, yeah, I want it to be kind of just a tilt shelf all the way. Yeah. So what this does now is just a super quick way to turn up the stuff. I don't want 16 gain added though. We'll do 8 decibels up and negative 6 down. Right, so this should just like just brighten any signal we put into it. So that's always a good macro to add. I may even add a little bit more brightness. I'm not going to do it. So now let's add some stuff to like majorly adjust this so it's not just shaping the tone, but also we have like some options to get really weird with the signal. So in order to do this, I'm not going to listen to what I'm inputting. I'm just going to add some stuff that I think may work. So we'll do 3 ring mods. First things first though, let's add a knob onto these ring mods to turn them off. So now we're just going to kind of rinse and repeat that process. I think I'm going to add like a possible like flanger or chorus to this. So we'll do like 2 different ones. So we'll do 1 flanger that's doing one way, and I'm just going to randomize these real quick. Actually, we'll go to depth 0, rate 0. So these are static flangers, and just use motion. And turn the feedback way high. One goes up, one goes down. So now when we turn this on, let's also give them some weird depth. I'm just kind of trying to make this we'll call this the Mishy. Okay, now let's add another thing that's like kind of a separate modulator. So I'm about to be done with this one. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm doing as much like modulations on this as possible, or I'm trying to not make it too simple, because there are definitely some really simple ones that you can make that are cool. But by having a lot of different stuff that we can do with this, there's kind of some exploration that you get to do with each of the patches. And so we'll do like a reverb sweep on this. And so this controls this. And so that means, whoops, so I was like wondering why it's not doing anything. That means when we turn this on, and I'm actually gonna put this at the end. I want it to do all of the bands together. And we'll call this sweep jitters. And the reason I'm going to call it sweep jitters is because I want to make it weirder than this. We'll go the frequency shifter, put this like this, and it's bipolar mode. So now when I turn this on, see if this works like I want it to. It's definitely weird, but it's not exactly the kind of weird that I want. What if I turn the reverb off? Yeah, so we'll do two different ones. So the sweepy will be its own thing. So that's just going to be the reverb. Now here's what we'll do. We'll make it like a granular type deal. So I'm going to do another random here, and this is going to end this one for sure. Turn the rate relatively high, smoothing up, and kind of a little lower than that. Yeah, there we go, because we want it to wash around a bit. All right, so now I do need this to be on this, right? I want this to be on, or actually I do need it to be on bipolar. And now I'm just going to turn these going different ways here. And so what this is going to do is just completely screw the input up, and hopefully that'll end up with some more interesting stuff on the output. This may be a flop. We'll see though. And so now instead of going and doing every single one of these little pieces here, what I'm going to actually do is do this to modulate my amount. Oh, let me turn the sweepy off and see if that sounds any different. Okay, so instead of doing all these, now we'll do yet another gain killer. And I'm just going to move the position of these to the end, just so they're down there. So this is kind of a big multi-effects thing. Let's just see, the last thing is, does it sound better with chaos, with smoothing or not? And then the last thing that we need to do here is just pick like a position for the knobs to start at. And the easiest way to do this is just find one that sounds good. That sounds good. We'll turn the shiny up tiny little bit. Yeah, so that's going to do it for this one, y'all. That's how I come up with these different modulation effects racks that I have. So thank you for watching. I should be done with the Dariacore pack in a week or two where all these samples came from. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.